That was fighting for gay rights, and people were killed.
Nobody was killed at Stonewall.
Nobody was killed.
When the universe was created, God brought forth two types of energies that would be present within each drag queen in the world. Those energies being good and evil. Now, you're probably wondering where Mistress Isabelle Brooks fits into all this. Well, even though she's the Miss Congeniality of season 15 and spent her time in the competition building up contestants like Lucy LaDuca, you'd be surprised to learn that there's a little bit of chaotic evil that resides inside her. Speaking of, you know what's exhausting? Trying to grow an online presence with a bunch of mismatched tools that don't actually work together. You've got your content in one place, your shop in another, your link in bio doing the bare minimum, and somehow it still feels off. That's where Squarespace comes in, the sponsor of today's video. And honestly, it's the reset button that your online presence might be needing. I use Squarespace to pull everything together. My work, my links, my store, even my newsletter. And instead of feeling like I'm duct taping a bunch of platforms, I've got one space that looks good, works great, and actually feels like mine. The setup is fast, editing is visual and intuitive, and their templates genuinely stunning. You don't need to code or even think too hard. Just drag, drop, customize, and done. Plus, everything's built in. Custom domains, SEO tools, email marketing, e-commerce with flexible payment options. It's all there. It's like having your own digital headquarters. So if you're ready to start cobbling things together and actually build something that works, hit the link in my description. You can start with a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, you'll get 10% off your first website or domain, plus supporting the channel in the process. Now, let's begin. When Mistress was 14 years old, she was scrolling through Tumblr and ended up stumbling upon some gifs from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 4, instantly falling in love with not just the show, but with the art of dragging itself too. A very magical awakening for a horrific entity that wouldn't go on to make her debut on the franchise until more than 10 years later on Season 15. But that wasn't even a thought for 14-year-old Mistress, because it wasn't until 2 years later, when she was 16 years old, for context, season 6 was airing at this time, that she decided to start dabbling into drag, doing her makeup, getting some garments together. Ultimately, it isn't until July 14th, 2016, on her 18th birthday, that she considers it the true start of the birth of Mistress Isabelle Brooks, because it's then that she truly viewed drag as a viable career path for herself. Little did she know, she'd go on to become one of the most popular names from the new era of the series. When I originally began my plans towards making this video about Mistress, I wasn't sure how I'd bring this idea into fruition. Over the past couple of years, she's become one of my all-time favorite queens because of how much nerve she has, especially with the level of unfilteredness that's only gotten worse as she's gotten more successful. Therefore, I want to take you on a journey that will be sort of different from the way I normally approach my videos. To do so, first we have to start with the season 15 finale. The season 15 finale is the day reality set in on not just Mistress, but the rest of the queens that had made it to the top 4 as well. Sasha Colby was the clear winner, but given by the way Drag Race finales have gone in the past, there's always that possibility for another contestant to come out of nowhere, impress everyone, and win the crown last minute. That didn't end up happening for Mistress. Instead, after having a pretty good run in the competition, delivering great looks, a strong track record, she ended up being abruptly eliminated alongside Luxe Noir London at the season 15 finale, with debates being made to this day on whether she was 3rd or 4th place. What followed was a race against time for her to reap the rewards of being among the most current airing main season, and try to establish an online presence for herself that she'd be able to monetize on top of. Off the bat, she began doing small YouTube collaborations with big names like Trixie Mattel, and being a guest on Bob the Drag Queen's podcast Sibling Rivalry for a couple episodes. All of this while slowly trying to build her YouTube channel that was in its infancy, but would go on to skyrocket into a platform that any queen would dream of having. In retrospect, a lesson that I can take from Mistress's post-season rise is that she goes by a mantra where whatever content she puts out is based on what she herself would enjoy seeing if she was a fan of herself. That's a structure that I've applied to myself when it comes to my own channel, because if you're not treating your platform as your baby, then you can quickly lose the magic. And people can tell if you're putting out content to check off a box rather than something that comes from the heart. Mistress is not afraid of anything. Most of the time, you can tell that queens are walking a fine line to make sure that they can say their opinion with without angering a certain portion of the fan base that might come for you if you were too shaded towards a given queen. But she doesn't just say whatever is on her mind, she also doubles down on it if it really becomes an issue. Or in some cases, apologize by just turning the whole situation into an ongoing joke. You sort of tend to forget that Mistress is actually pretty young, being that she's only in her late 20s. From the way she paints, you'd think she was a queen that's been in the game longer, but it's important to note that she was a queen born from watching Drag Race in the 2010s decade. In an era where a lot of younger queens are drawn towards giving less extravagant drag, oftentimes not wearing pads, minimal makeup, and their claim to fame being their online presence, Mistress built herself upon an over-the-top traditional drag style with a slight modern twist. This was a queen that looked and acted like queens from the first 5 seasons of the show, while also having a clear self-awareness and perspective for what the modern fanbase expectations of queens were. Take the rise of Eleanor Charles, for instance, a character of a super Christian woman that wears big dry wigs, played by Mistress out of drag, not wearing even a speck of makeup. Even now that she was doing the press week for All Stars 10, she showed up to a bunch of these interviews as Eleanor Charles, allowing her to save money and time on making extravagant outfits that a lot of the queens normally do when it comes to these type of events. What any normal person would view as outlandishly weird, to fans of MIB, this is just another Monday. That's why her YouTube channel has been nothing short of impressive. Like, listen, when she first announced that she was going to be entering her YouTube era, I was just happy to get more content out of her. There's very few queens that I can listen to talk about pretty much any topic for hours on end, and she's one of them, so I knew that I'd be tuning in regardless of what she'd be discussing. But that's where the X factor comes with her channel. The different directions that she's been going on has resulted in concept for videos that no other queen has been doing. It's like she's drawn inspiration from the algorithm that exists outside of Drag Race and tried to mix that in with what she knows her audience likes. For example, with the creation of her new dating show, she brought people from West Hollywood to try to help them find love. Ironically, Mistress views herself as someone that's actually pretty good at helping people find their significant other. As to how long these couples she's brought together last, well, that's another question. One of my favorite series though is when she goes out in drag to one of the gay villages and interviews random drunk people that are hanging out outside of the clubs. It results in some very real yet super hilarious moments that would be extremely difficult for anyone else to replicate. It honestly is content that truly takes a decent amount of preparation and work. Yet even if this wasn't your thing, most of her videos she's been releasing recently have varying degrees of guest stars, making it harder for not to be more chances of newer fans falling in love with her. There's even friends I have that don't like her who tuned in to one of her videos because she had a guest who they were a fan of, and after that they ended up becoming a fan of her too. Within her channel, we have seen an attempt at not just creating one-off content, but going beyond that. While she started off with simple style topics and having the occasional guest stop by, there was big moves she began making and continued to do even beyond just having a YouTube channel. For instance, the creation of her official wig company, Mistress Wigs. This was something that had been a long time coming, and she only got the ammunition to jump-start it once she built her online presence. While to some it came out of left field, to long-term supporters of her, it's no wonder she ended up starting her own wig company, because she even considered being a hairstylist at one point, prior to even getting on Drag Race. Styling wigs is not something that every drag queen knows how to do. A lot of them end up hiring other queens to make a wig for them. So if you have the skill, it can be a huge bonus to you financially. Yet it wasn't until December 2019, when Mistress broke her ankle, followed by the pandemic, that she realized just how important having a business outside of just performing at a bar was to the longevity of your career. Being out of commission from her injury and the impending lockdowns from the pandemic, she started to hustle like never before, selling wigs to queens not just in her city, but all over the world in order to take care of herself financially. That's sort of why so many queens refer to her as the heavyweight champ. To her, it meant that no matter what, she was always gonna come out swinging. Anything she does, she'll give it 100%. That's why when she made her debut on season 15, the heavyweight champ became part of her brand. Another way to see how much she's progressed since her debut is to take, for instance, her first appearance on the pit stop versus her second appearance on the pit stop. While only a year apart from each other, displayed very different people. I say this because, as you know, the moment a queen season finishes airing, especially their original season, they are now in a race against time to try to maintain their relevancy so that they can continue to work at the rate that they experienced when they were the new ticket in town. But by the time she returned to the pit stop for a second time, she had already established an online presence for herself with her YouTube channel. Now, it was all about building on top of it, since it would be a huge tool in maintaining her relevancy in the coming years. And now, she's not just just one of the most booked Rue girls from the modern era of the series, but owns her own wig company. Topped off with her growing channel and her Patreon that's about to blow up given that she's on All Stars 10, and also a Patreon that I am personally subscribed to, it's clear that there's a lot of big opportunities headed her way in the near future. Speaking of, Mistress just made her debut on All Stars 10, and at the time I make this video, only the first episode of her respective bracket is aired. She's mentioned in one of their recent uploads that originally she didn't think she would return to compete so soon, but that her life circumstances lined up in a way that she felt that it was the correct decision for her to say yes. I and many other fans are happy that she did, because she's among the most hyped names out of the 18 queens that are now back on our screen. This return comes at a perfect time because she's truly dominating the online space for Drag Race queens right now, so she's about to blow up like crazy. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to click the link in the description to get 10% off and support the channel in the process. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons. In the Elite Pink Squad we have Matthew Burns, Sari Tish, Las Potitas, Gay Uncle, Natasha DeLeon, Cool Gal Nan, and Jetzam Adams. And in the Green Squad we have Cayman Rider Furry, Edgar Allan Pup, The Only Sean, IJS, Not a Punch But a Keek, Jack Beck, Bashir with the Good Beard, Galeria Gomez, Sarah G, Boiled Peanut, Max Whale, Olivia Marr, Dea, Scarlet Rose, and our newest additions, welcome to the Green Squad, Niall O'Hearn, and Michael Alsante. If you'd like to join the Patreon, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can click the link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time.